Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the first session on the business track to dive in about the future of Magento open source and its community. Please welcome Bapak Muliadi WJO, CTO of Enterprise Solutions.
Good afternoon. Even though katanya topiknya very Magento banget, I think I'm gonna try to make it a little bit more general so everybody hopefully can get something out of it. So don't worry, I'm not gonna talk only Magento. But first of all, my name is Muliadi. I'm currently as a CTO for the SIRCLO, but we've been doing this event for 8 years. Wah, nggak kerasa udah 8 tahun. And I'm very glad to see always the same old face and also new faces keep coming on the events. And hopefully you can get a lot of learning out of the events. And the whole purpose, it started with our relationship with Magento for a long time ago because we see it's such a vibrant community where people comes and share knowledge and able to networking and basically learn from each other. So that's kind of where we learn from and bring it here, and 8 years ago, and this is becoming year after year, and obviously this year we used the new name E-commerce Expo to make it even broader so that we can, because e-commerce in Indonesia is not just brand.com, there's like marketplace, TikTok, live commerce, there's so many components out of the e-commerce, and we want to make sure that we can cover as many topics as possible. So. But yeah, for this session, I'm going to talk a little bit about why we start with Magento and a little bit his history of it. But before we do all those stuff, let's do some fun stuff. If you can use your phone, scan or go to the website, menti.com, and entering this number, 53451075. We just could do some interaction. I like more two-way rather than one-way. Let's see if you can. All right, this is 10 people already coming in. Waiting a little bit more. For the one that just came in, front seat still open. Welcome. All right. Okay, let's start, see if it works. So I want you to do prioritization scheme. Where are you? Or none of this. I should put one none of the above, but it's okay. Let's give it a try. So you can use your phone, you can rearrange what do you think is one of your priority in the next 12 months, if any. Or any subject that interests you to learn more in the next 12 months. Wow, okay. It's a good raising between omnichannel and the personalizations. AI is not bad. Yep, keep raising. All right, can give it more minutes to settling down between the second and the third. Surprisingly, not so many people want to do the TikTok. All right, so it seems omnichannel is a clear winner. I think that's still a very hot subject, I think, on doing online and how to properly do it. I think Indonesia is still kind of very challenging. So okay, let's do the next one. Okay. All right, so just a quick, for you that doesn't know Magento, very quickly, it started in 2007, so it's very, very much long. It's like, it started as a two-person called Roy and Yoav. I, lucky enough, personally know Roy Rubin. I remember 2010, around 2009, we were on the same booth in the Las Vegas, still promoting Magento 1.0. I'm from the agency that's doing that. So that's why, I mean, if you ask why I did Magento event, because I know them like way long back. That's the history. But then they get a big journey from Magento side. They get acquired by eBay 2011, and finally now settling down as part of the Adobe. But Adobe actually rebrand the product called Adobe Commerce. But the actual open source software itself is still there. Now, I don't know if you familiar with the term open source, right? Open source mean like it's a software that out there, open, where a lot of people actually collaborating, working on it. So I want to see if how much you know and what if you know, yeah, good. That's the first one. See any other words? No support. Flexible, okay. Control, okay. Free, flexible, community. Those are the three, exactly the biggest trait of the software. I mean, when you are in the open source, that's what we're looking. At least a good open source software has to have these three components, have to be really well, right? So let's go. And also the thing that usually concern people with the open source is, okay, I think there's one people saying no support, right? I mean, that's typically the first concern. Where are we on that one? That's why usually enterprise say, it's not for me because there's no support. And enterprise, still related to that. When I say enterprise, doesn't necessarily have to be a very large corporation, but it's more like how long-lasting a software it is, right? And then people will be concerned about how scalable it is, and is it secure? So those are really the three concerns. So we're gonna see if we can answer those. And this is true with a lot of other open source that are very popular, like WordPress. That's why even I'm talking about Magento, this is something that really applicable, but hopefully there's a new insight that you can use. The fact is actually a large enterprise using open source, but you just probably don't realize. I think I mentioned Adobe buy Magento and they create Adobe Commerce. Essentially, Adobe Commerce is actually a product that still underneath is this Magento open source. Everybody use Android phone. How many here use Android? Yeah. Android is open source. If you use iPhone, iOS is a variant of Apple OS. It's also variant of Unix, which is open source as well. So wherever you are, you're still using open source even though you don't realize it. And if you're developers here, if you're using language like React and stuff like that, those are open source. The reality instead of open source is not for enterprise. The open source is actually the one that's driving a lot of innovations and transformation. Because of what? Exactly the one that you guys just mentioned on the cloud keyword, right? Speed of development become faster because you are collaborating so many people together on certain set of software, yeah. So collaboration, community engagement, those are the core of innovations inside there, and it provides the flexibility that you have. And obviously, what the business like, hopefully at the end, is the cost efficiency. Building from scratch, becoming much more and more expensive for any company, whatever size it is, right? I mean, yes, you can hire a developer, you can maybe just start anything coding from scratch. And to be honest, a lot of developers, just like me, is very kind of pride. Oh, if I'm not building myself, then it's not good. My code is always better than the other code, so that's usually the what's that called? The sentiment of the developer, because they are so want to be themselves. But open source actually cultivate the way around. It's the collaboration among thousands of developers, sometimes even more than that, in creating something that is much more faster in the go-to-market. And that's what Magento, and why we actually started Magento, is because of that. 300,000 community members actively still until right now is actually supporting the core base. And then obviously with the Adobe, I think there's a lot of questions where things are. So this is the only slide that's talking about that. After that, we're talking something else. But just for that, you can rest assured if you are in a Magento, only for specifically if anybody here in Magento platform already or invest in Magento, you are still in the good place because there are people that is committed to that. So there's the Magento Association, who is actually the one that umbrellaing the whole event, including the Meet Magento event, which I'm part of it inside. And everybody here can be part of it too. You can register into Magento Association website and become a member if you want to support. And then obviously there's Adobe commitment to, because they're building product on the top of it, obviously Adobe will continue to make sure security, the baseline is always updated. So this is going to be continue. At this moment, there's no changes on Adobe commitment on the core product. And then there's this is something new that, so that you all can aware, there's a new community that just cropped up called MageOS Initiative. So obviously because Adobe now own the code of the open source, they probably not going to build more features because they're going to build more features on their own product on the Adobe Commerce, which a different product, a very excellent product, a very different set of features. But then the community want to continue to build as well, so that it's not conflict. Actually, that community building a new one called MageOS, which actually still taking the same core base from whatever built by the Adobe, so it's still going to be parallel in the same time. So, and we in SIRCLO also building a lot of product ourselves. I mean, if you go to the booth later on, you can see a lot of our Swift product and stuff like that, also building on the top of the same that open source from the MageOS initiative. So we are actually a prominent of support in the MageOS. So if you have any question regarding that, feel free to ask our booth. Some of our developer, Teddy on the back, more than happy to help to talk about more about the MageOS initiative. Just very quick, Magento Associations, basically association that become the bridging between the Adobe as the owner of the brand and the actual product. I already talked about this, it's gonna skip. So let's go to the innovation, right? So with all this open source, what are the innovation that's coming out? And this has come true in all e-commerce platform right now, and most of the major e-commerce platform that is growing is going into this direction. One of the big innovations is actually what we call as headless innovations. What does that mean is, in the past, you have to tie down with one single solution so that, and if you want to move, you have to move the entire solutions to one to the other. The headless is a new approach of the platform where they are making the customer experience part of the development is separate from the actual core business process. Because if you think about it in your business, the business part of the process doesn't change much, right? It's actually quite boring. I mean, from 12 years ago, I do e-commerce, it's quite the same. Order coming in, order need to be picked, order to be packed, order to be shipped, tracking here, tracking out. It's probably with some variation of all the different kind of order fulfillment strategy and stuff like that, which is we can talk hourly on separate way on that one. But the one that keeps changing so fast is the customer experience part, right? And then that's where we actually continue to have a new way to interact with customers. I think in the past, maybe it's just everything is article, blog, and stuff like that. Today, there's nobody actually reading news at all right now. All the kids just watching short video, live commerce, TikTok, stuff like that. So the interactions, the customer experience is changing. So when you build something like e-commerce or something business in digital business, this has become very important on keeping up with what is the right customer experience that you want to build, right? So this innovation is really allowing you to detach the experience from the actual whatever happening in the back. So hopefully now with a lot of this open source and a lot of different solutions that you can innovate faster through that collaborations. How about the scalability? And this is where I think the new trend now, everything is cloud implementations. I mean, if you're not, your solution is not cloud friendly, then typically then it's becoming harder to scale up. Another things that need to happen a lot now is breaking down into smaller pieces, what we call modular and services. Maybe some of you heard of microservices, whatever term that people throw in. But at the end of the day, is try to make the units small enough so that you can pick and choose which one is the best, right? At the end, you want to have the flexibility of investing on technology that which is the best. For example, if you want to build e-commerce, maybe this particular solution is good for the product catalog, merchandising. And for that one, it's good for the searching part of the technology because searching require natural language. Maybe you put an AI to be able to chat, finding product more better. And then maybe you need a technology that to do the personalizations. Some of you talking about personalizations in the first beginning. Maybe there's a technology that's really, really good on doing that personalizations separately. So you want to be able to orchestrate all this different technology and put it into one. Not necessarily one company will build everything ready. So this is where modular and services become very important on doing that. And I'll give you some real example what we do on this. And finally, customizations, optimizations. This is where we allow to make it, everything is scalable. I mean, from the software. And this is the sample from Adobe himself, right? You see? I don't expect you can read, but I just want to show it's not as simple as just one single software. I mean, even Adobe breaking up everything now into pieces after they buy the Magento and building a lot of new things on the top of it to make the solutions flexible and innovate. So, yeah, you can actually, this is from the documentation from the Adobe himself. For the headless implementations. As you can see, then you can choose whatever you like. You don't have to use Magento for the front end. You can use PWA, React. You can use the Vue storefront. If you see one of our sponsor, Hiva, that's another very good front end implementations for the website. So those are a lot of different options that you can actually build, including Adobe itself have a very AI-based CMS solution that do that. Now, even in our company, myself now, we also try to break it up, right? This is just very quick, simple. Oh, we need a good checkout for all the customers that we have. So, and we might have a customer that has Magento. We might have a customer that is Shopify. We might have a other platform. We want to cater all, but the checkout process should be the same. Remember that we want to focus on the customer experience, right? So we want to have a consistency on customer experience. So that's what we do. With the headless approach, we start and focus with the customer experience first. What are customer experience that we want to try to achieve? Then we plug and play into the technology that we want to do. And I'll give you a quick demo on this one. So I know this is Magento, and there's no Adobe people here. So I'm showing a Shopify website, so bear with me. But this is basically a Shopify website where you can basically install Shopify very quickly. There's nothing really fancy about this. Let me just pull something. Let's say black jackets here. All right. I don't want subscription. Okay, that's girl. Looks good. My wife is okay. Yeah, I'm just a pretty girl. Add to cart and fill my cart. So I have two of them. I'll just delete one. Keep it simple. So as you see, as soon as I check out, this actually going a completely different technology, not in the Shopify, because we use the same headless for all our solution for the checkout. To basically making sure that it's actually work with Indonesia clients with all the complexity of all the, let's see, hold on, 590244. I have to juggle. 244. So now I can focus on a checkout that can be shared on any platform that I work with, where it's very Indonesia, where you can do pick up in store, you can do many shipping method. Indonesia, as you know, have like a lot of choices on the shipping, and thank you for every banking here to have their own, and so you can choose all the different kind of payment gateway, even multiple payment gateway and stuff like that. So just basically to show you that you're not being tied down into a single platform anymore. This is the direction of the flexibility that you are investing in on the e-commerce, because at the end, e-commerce is all about giving a good user experience. And all of a sudden, you now have the ability to actually have all the different options to go with, even bring your own front end in this case. Okay. So security, how about that? Open source in any is actually better security than building yourself. Can you imagine that if you build yourself, you have 10 developers, the only one that can see what's happening behind the code is just those 10 developers, right? If you build on something like an open source like Magento or WordPress, literally you have 300,000 eyes that verifying each other and respond if there's any security breach, and the community will respond. That's why you have to choose an open source that's really, that the community is active. If you just choose the open source because of free, that is wrong. You don't get the support. Exactly like you said, there will be no support. But if you choose an open source that is plenty of people behind the scene that actually will give you the support, then security actually have a lot of people actually work on it. But a lot of people, even though they have this, they forgot that they have to update and regular patches. It's as good as the software in your phone. If you never upgrade, then at the end of the day, then it will be hacked one way or the other, right? So the same way with the investment in your e-commerce. A lot of people thinking, oh, I built the website, I'm done. For 10 years, it's exactly the same website that built, no touches. Like Indonesia said, right? Nggak usah dibetulin. It's not broken, don't fix it, right? But that's the problem. It's broken inside. Just like houses. If you don't use the house, if you don't use your car, your car still have to go through the maintenance every month, every 6 months, every 12 months. Things has to be fixed, patches, updates, things like that. And a lot of people doesn't actually put on the good practice, set aside budget on doing that. And hopefully with the open source, is that also becoming a transparency, right? So you can see the code underlying it. So if you want to see that, you can easily see what's going on from the core code, obviously. And then obviously all the security best practices around it has to happen as well. I think we jokingly say earlier, I mean, security is as good as the person behind that. If, let's say you have a very good security system, software, hardware, but then only one person, and the password is 123, and they're sharing it everywhere, I put it on the sticky note, then that's not security anyway. So that person become the loophole. Okay, and this should be the last before the questions. We have 7 minutes left. Adobe, like I said, will continue to support the open source part, but obviously Adobe have its own very strong product called Adobe Commerce. So if you want to know about it, more than happy to share with you. It's very Adobe-centric. If you invest in all Adobe stuff, like their analytic, their target market, Adobe Target, and all the CMS stuff, then it's definitely worthwhile to basically invest in the whole Adobe. So but one thing that I have to very clear is it's becoming a two different path now. There's the Adobe Commerce product and there's the open source software, which is a completely two different things. I think in the old days, I've been sharing, oh yeah, it's an upgrade path from the open source to Adobe. Now it's actually becoming a two different products. So where do you go from here? Hopefully you learn new stuff. You learn about, oh, there is an open source software that is as good as as an enterprise. Oh, I need to update my platform if I'm on one of those software. Collaboration is the key. No one better than a lot. I think if you are a developer here, remember 1,000 developers is always better than you yourself. And then innovation is a journey. It's a continuous process, and it's not the final destination. I think that's it. Thank you. Maybe if there's any questions from the audience.
Yes, if there are any questions, please just raise your hands and then we will give the mic to you to ask the questions.
All good?
Any questions maybe? Anyone who,
over there,
okay, that's right.
Mas di belakang.
Hi, Pak.
Yep.
First of all, great presentation. And then secondly, where have you been all this time? Because these are very good solutions. I just want to ask, actually in regards to one of the first slides during the voting, where do you see like the e-commerce trends are gonna go like the next years? You mentioned that, oh yeah, why is TikTok so low? Or like social commerce solo. Where do you see the e-commerce trends are going, and how does headless or these kinds of platforms or components can support the trends of the future trends? That's it.
Thank you, thank you. I think if we're looking at the future of e-commerce, we cannot go far from where the future audience will be, right? So I'm not your future audience. I'm just too old with the white hair and stuff like that. So I'm Gen X that probably 10 years from now I'm not relevant to your business. But the younger, all this whatever, 20th now, and maybe even my daughter that is 7 years old, 10 years from now, she's become the relevant, right? I mean, so the e-commerce is going to follow the consumer at the end, right? The changes into e-commerce in the first place is not because it's just a new channel, or we just want, some people say, oh yeah, e-commerce is just another channel that we dump the products for sales. No, I think they're missing the exact boat on that one. E-commerce happened because there's a new behavior change. My son no longer want to go down to the mall and buy food. He rather just in front of his computer continue play with his friend, open up their phone, order McDonald's from the phone. Even though I'm living literally above the mall. He's just not gonna get out. So that's kind of people who is relevant to the e-commerce, right? So the user journey will dictate all the technology that we're gonna use in interacting with this consumer. I mentioned about how new generation doesn't read. We might be forced. Now we still on the old school. E-commerce, everything is about product description, 2-paragraph, SEO friendly and stuff like that. 3 years from now, that might be not even relevant. They just want video. Show me the product, I can click buy, I like it, I buy, I don't like it, I buy. So maybe there's no website at that point. I don't know. But this is where we have to continue to make sure that whatever that we build is becoming a fundamental support for all. I mean, regardless, is it from video, is it really from the text, really from wherever you are, you still need a product information. You still need a good pricing. You still need a good inventory strategy, technology behind it. So this is where you invest and make sure it's flexible so that your front end can evolve. Maybe evolve into a video interaction, evolve into an AR augmented reality. We are actually doing that with one of clients, doing augmented reality experience. So those are the ones that we continue to change. So that's what I'll see. It's more excitement. Definitely, if you're talking about today, I think live shopping, video, short video is definitely is very strong. We have session on TikTok tomorrow. Make sure you don't miss it. But it's not about the TikTok. It's about the short video consumption is changing the generation that we have. So I think that's something that we should just continue to aware. Hopefully that answers you.
Okay, thank you so much, Bapak Muliadi, and thank you so much for the question. Now I would like to invite the one who asked the question to come up on stage because we will give you a special merchandise from MS Glow. Can I please ask you to come up on the stage, please? Can we give a round of applause?